We're going to learn how to factor. We tried to do this video once already for those folks watching at home, and the iPad's been sucking it up. It still won't even upload to YouTube. I don't know what the problem is, so I just have to like put them all on my computer and then do it for my computer. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But we'll get it figured out. I'll try to get it fixed and make sure this goes more smoothly. Factoring. You know what factoring is, Cameron?
Here it is, Thursday.
We didn't write down a definition. No. We did a few different kinds of, there's all kinds of factoring. There's a whole bunch of different ways to factor. All, just in general though, you know what it is? Yeah, this is it.
Like the number before a letter?
That's a coefficient. That is one of our vocab words, good. Number before a letter, that's coefficient. Factoring is just, it's taking a number or an expression. You could take just like a number and factor it, or you can take like expressions and you can factor that. It's basically breaking something apart into two different terms or two numbers or two different things that when you multiply them together you get that. So like you know how to factor 12, right? 3 times 4, 6 times 2, 2 times 6, any of those, 1 times 12, that's factoring. You did that many moons ago. The factoring we're going to start now, though, is going to be with like expressions. It's going to have x's and stuff in it. If you remember the last time we did this video, what are we looking for if we're going to factor something like that? What do you need? What's the first thing you're trying to do? Greatest, oh yeah, this is greatest common factor factoring. I should write that down, right? Greatest common factor. Oh yeah, we need to do vocab, that's right. Like terms. What is a term? What is a coefficient? This has two terms, 3x and 6. What's the biggest number that will go into both of those? 3. And so if we're trying to figure out what multiplies to give us this, the easiest way to do it is take what they both have in common, write it on the outside of the parentheses. That would be called the greatest common factor between those. And then you fill in the parentheses with what you would have to multiply 3 by to give you this. 3 times what gives you 3x? X. 3 times what gives you 6?
3.
2. 3 times 2 is 6. Boom, you've just factored 3x plus 6. It's 3 times x plus 2. It's factoring because I broke it apart into something that if I multiply these together, I get that. Right? That's greatest common factor factoring. And then they get harder. They get kind of ugly. Like you can have like 34x to the 6th. I better not go too hard already. Plus 8. Okay, 12 would have worked. X squared. We're trying to factor that. Again, you look for what they have in common. What's the biggest number that will go into 34 and 8?
4.
Is 4 going to 34? I don't think so. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. 8 won't go into 34. I think it's just 2. 2 is the biggest one. 2 goes into 34, 2 goes into 8, right? Bring out a 2. What else though? What about x's? What's the largest amount of x's they both have in common? 2. This guy has 6 of them, this guy only has 2, so we can bring out 2. Once you've done that, you brought out the greatest common factor that they have in common, you fill in parentheses with what you need. If you were to multiply this times this, you should get 34x squared. So you got to go 2 times what gives me 34? Oh, 17. X squared times what gives me x to the 6th? I had her x to the 3rd out there. It's to the 4th, right? When you multiply x's, what do you do with these?
Yeah.
Add them. Should have touched on that in Algebra 1, but hopefully, I know you see it in like 8th grade like once, but that's a long time ago and you probably don't remember that. But yeah, multiplying x's, add the exponents. 2 times what gives you 8? 4. X squared times what gives you x squared? Just like Don't put an x, because if you put an x there, that'd make it go up to x to the third.
Yeah.
You just leave it like that. Because if I did distributive property right now and multiplied, 2x squared times 4 would be 8x squared. That's it. Boom. Done. We'll do one more that's hard. Like, let's see, I gotta think of one. Let's go like 18x to the 6th, y to the 7th, z to the 8th, minus, how about 24x, z to the 3rd, whole squared, plus 12x to the 3rd, y to the 5th, z to the 4th. That's about as hard as they get. This is just greatest common factor again. You're just looking for what they have in common. How many terms are there? It's funny. You can tell I'm just bored, huh? There's 3 terms. Terms are always separated by plus and minus signs. So yeah, you got that guy, and that guy. You do this step by step. You just look at the number first, the coefficients, right? That we just talked about. The numbers in front first. And I think, what's the biggest number? Then we'll go into all 3 of those. Do a little calculator work if you need to. 3 does go into all of those, but it's not the biggest. 6 is the biggest. So we pull out the 6, and then you go x's. Do they all have x? How many can I bring out? 2, because that one only has 2. So we'll bring out x squared. Do they all have y? Nope, that one doesn't have a y, so I can't put any y's out here. They all have z?
Yeah.
z8, z to the 3rd, z to the 4th. So how many out? 3. Parentheses. And then you figure out 6. Then you go 6x squared, z to the 3rd times what gives me this? Right? You just do that every time. And you're like, 6 times 3 gives me 18. X squared times x to the 4th gives me x to the 6th. Well, let's see, there's no y out here, is there? So what's this have to have? All of them. Y to the 7th. And then z to the 3rd times z to the 5th, z to the 8th. Boom, that one's done. Minus 6 times 4 is 24. It's already got all the x squareds. It's got no y's. And it's already got all the z's, right? So does this one need any letters in here? Mm-hmm. Nope. And you'll just go plus 6 times 2 is 12. How many x's?
1.
Just 1. How many y's?
1.
To the 5th. It's got to have all of them. There's no y's out here.
1.
And then just a z, because z to the 3rd times z is z to the 4th. And then there's your answer. It's factored, because if I multiply this times all these, I get this. That's greatest common factor factoring. And actually, for the rest of the factorings we do, that'll be your first step always. Except today, you won't get any. Sometimes there's like 2-step factoring. You won't get any today, but like tomorrow, you'll start seeing it. But anyway. After that, we went on to. Oh, yeah, we had some vocab words here. Should have. We were like factoring, quadratics with the leading coefficient of 1. Just to make a long story short, a quadratic was anything where it's like a number, x squared, plus another number times x plus another number. A, B, and C are just any numbers. You got an x squared and an x in the same equation. Those are quadratics generally. There's more to it. But so anyway, leading coefficient of 1. Coefficient, remember, is the number in front of the variable.